Leadership style and influence process. Introduction. In giving the input on leadership styles and influence process to you, we pressure your main aim to understand and improve your style of functioning as a leader. To start with, you must have clear idea as to what is meant by leadership. Leadership is the activity of influencing people to strive willingly for group objectives. As you can see, this process is a functioning of a leader. The following and the situations, there may not be particular organizations in our mind when we talk of leadership. In any situation where you are trying to influence the behavior of another individual or group, leadership is operating. Thus, each of us tries leadership at one time or the others, whether our activities are centered around the business, educational institution, hospital, political organization, government organization, or a family. As part of this process, who one who attempts to influence the behavior of others becomes a potential leader, and the persons he is attempting the influence are the potential followers. This may happen irrespective of the fact that the leaders may be their boss or a colleague, associate, or a subordinate, or a friend, or a relative. In other words, through a style of functioning, he influences attitudes and expectations, which in turn encourage or discourage the followers' activity or achievement, enhance or diminish the followers' commitments or work, etc. In our day to day life, we become across instances of how peoples are influenced by the activity or words of a person who is trying to learn them. We always make judgment about the leaders of our own office. In our mind, we make a difference between the good leader and a bad one by judging his styles, a way to functioning, and his influences on others. Hence, in understanding the phenomenon of leadership, we must first understand the various styles of the leaders. Leadership styles. The word style is the way in which the leader influences followers. Let's have a look at the various studies that helps us to understand the leadership styles. Hawthorne Studies. Mayo and Roethlisberger's did a series of studies from 1924 to 1932 in an electricity companies at Illinois in USA. These studies are known as Hawthorne Studies. One phase of these studies aimed at finding out if changes in illumination, rest period, and lunch breaks can affect the productivity of the workers. It was found to the surprise of the researchers that less right, shorter and fewer rest period and shorter lunch breaks results resulted in increased productivity. And once all these changes were eliminated and the normal working conditions were resumed, it was also seen that the workers' productivity and the feelings of being together went up. The increases in productivity was attributed to the attitude of workers towards each other and their feelings of togetherness. In addition, attention paid to the workers by researchers made them feel important, which resulted in improvement in their work performance. This is known as Hawthorne Effect. This finding made Mayo and Roethlisberger conclude that a leader has not only to plan, decide, organize, lead, and control, but also consider them human element. This includes social needs of being together and being recognized for the work interaction of the group members with each other and their well being. A good leader ought to keep the above aspects in his styles of working with people and surviving their work. Theory X and Y. McGregor, 1960, categorized leadership styles into two broad categories having two different beliefs and assumption and subordinates. He called these theories X and theory Y. The theory X style of leadership believes that most people dislike work and will avoid it wherever possible. Such leaders feel they themselves are a small but important group who wants to lead and take responsibility, but the large majority of the people wants to be directed and avoid responsibility. Therefore, this style of leadership exercises strong control and direction and wherever necessary punish people if they do not do the work. If people do not work as desired, they may even get monetary or other rewards. Theory why leaders assume that the peoples will work hard and assume responsibility if they can satisfy their personal needs and the objectives or goal of their organization. Such leaders do not sharply distinguish between the leaders and the followers in contrast to the theory X style. They feel that people control themselves within rather than being controlled by other from outside, such as a leader or a manager or a supervisor. An effective leader needs to examine carefully his own ideas about the motivation and behavior of subordinates and others, as well as the situations before adopting a particular style of leadership. Iowa Leadership Studies. In 1939, Lippitt and White, under the direction of Levin, did a study of three different styles of leadership in the task performance of 10-year-old boys in the three groups. The authoritarian leader of the group was very directive. He did not allow any participation. He was concerned about the task and told the managers what to do and how to do it. He was friendly while praising the performance of the individual members and was impersonal while criticizing the individual members. In the other group, the democratic leader encouraged discussion with the group and allowed participation in making decisions. He shared his leadership responsibility with his followers and involved them in the planning and execution of the task. The laissez faire leaders of a third group gave a complete freedom of the group and did not provide any leadership. He did not establish any policies or procedures to do the task. Each member was let alone, no one attempted to influence the others. The researchers selected boys of the same intelligence level. Each group did the same task of making paper masks or model airplanes or mural or carvings. The room used by the three group remained the same. The three group leaders assumed different styles as they shifted every 6 weeks from group to group. Thus, researchers under the direction of Levin, who did several studies on group, were trying to see how different styles of leadership could change the satisfaction, frustration, aggression level of the individuals. One definite finding was that 19 out of 20 boys liked the democratic leadership style. That kind of a leader never tries to boss over them. Yet they had plenty to do. the only boy who liked the authoritarian style of leadership, happened to be the son of an army officer. It was also observed that 7 out of 10 boys preferred the laissez-faire leader to the autocratic one, as they preferred confusion and disorder to strictness and rigidly presence in the autocratic style. Boys under the latter style exhibited more of aggressive, hostile, and indifferent behavior as compared to their counterpart under other styles of leadership. They either showed hostility or cracked joke about hostility towards others. Other belongings to the democratic style of leadership shows less aggressive and more indifferent behavior when brought under the autocratic style of leader. Even under the laissez-faire styles of the leaders, boys committed more aggressive acts than the ones under the democratic style. Of course, a study on 10 years old boys is making paper masks or soap carving, etc., cannot be compared to leader behavior of adults with complex jobs, but like the studies of Mayo and Roethlisberger, the studies by Lewis, Lippitt, and White are a pioneering effort in understanding leadership styles from the point of scientific methodology. They also throw light on how different styles of leadership can produce different complex reactions from the same or similar groups. Michigan Studies on Leadership Styles. Likert at University Likert 1961 at University of Michigan Survey Research Center identified two major styles of leadership orientation: employee orientation and production orientation. The employees oriented style of the leader emphasizes the relationships aspects of the jobs of individuals. Such a leader takes interest in every one and aspect the individuality and personal needs of the individual. He has complete confidence and trust in all matters in his subordinates. His subordinates feels free to discuss things about their job with their superiors. He always asks subordinates for ideas and opinions and always try to make constructive use of them. The production oriented styles of the leader emphasizes productions and technical aspects of the job. He looks at subordinates or employees as tools to accomplish the goals of the organization. Working condition, and work methods are tried to be understood better in his style of the leadership orientation. Likert related these orientations to the performance of the employees. He showed that the employee oriented style brought high producing performance compared to production oriented styles. Of course, the satisfaction of employees was not directly related to productivity in Likert's study. Ohio State Study on Leadership Style. Stockdill 1957 at the Bureau of Business Research at Ohio State University initiated a series of researches on leadership in 1945. He, along with his colleagues, studied leader behavior in numerous types of groups and situations by using a leader behavior description questionnaire (LBDQ). The studies was conducted on Air Force commanders and members of bombers crews, officers, non-commissioned personnel, civilian administrator in the Navy Department, manufacturing, superiors, executives, teachers, principals, and school superintendents and leaders of various civilians groups. they did not have any satisfactory definition of leadership. They also did not think leadership in synonymous with good leadership. The LBDQ was administered in a wide variety of situations, and surprisingly, two dimensions of leadership continually emerged from the study. One is consideration, and the other is initiating structure. Consideration reflects the extent to which individuals are likely to have job relationship characterized by mutual respects of subordinates ideas and consideration of subordinates feelings. You may like to describe it as the behavior of the leader, indicating friendship, mutual trust, respect, and warmth in the relationship between the leaders and these group members. Initiating structure reflects the extent to which individuals are likely to define the structures, their roles, and those who of their subordinates towards goals attainment. In other words, it is the behavior of the leaders which deals with the relationship between himself and the work group and tries to establish well-defined pattern of organization, channels of communication, and method of procedures. Example of observed behavior of the leader under consideration and initiating structured are as follows. Consideration: the leaders find time to listen to group members, and the leaders is willingly to make change. The leader is friendly and approachable, and in initiating structure, the leaders assign group members to particular tasks. The leaders ask the group members to follow standard rules and regulations. The leader lets group members know what is expected of them. Scientific manager's style. Tyler, 1911, stressed the best way of doing a job. He emphasized the importance of having management and labor worked in harmony to maximize profits. The basis of his scientific management was technological in nature. It was felt that the best way to increase output was to improve the techniques or methods used by workers. Therefore, profits can be maximized by using a systematic and scientifically based approaches to the study of jobs. Taylor was not trained as a manager. He relied on scientific study of time and movement spent and used for the job to improve the performance of the worker. According to the scientific managerial style, management of a work organized must be divorced from human affairs and emotions, and people have to adjust the management and not management to the people. Once jobs are recognized with efficiency in mind, the economic self interest of the workers could be satisfied through various incentives, work plan such as piece rates, system of payments, etc. The leader of is assumed to be the most competent individuals in planning and organizing the work of subordinates according to Tyler's principles of scientific management. Various studies reflecting different styles of functioning of a leader have been started above, which highlights how the leader simultaneously pays attention to the A task to be accomplished by the group and B needs and expectation of the group and its individual members. Exactly how the leader goes about attending to those two functions in a matter of his leadership style, many theories have been suggested by the researcher regarding which leadership style is most effective. Even the above two functions can have different descriptions for different leaders, but in course of time every leader develops a particular style which reflects his own idea and perspectives on the relative importance of task and people. We should now consider in what ways we can enrich the understanding of various styles of leadership by making ourselves familiar with some important theories of leadership. Leadership styles and leadership theories. Trait theories. This theory, as described by Kelly 1974, attempt to classify what personal characteristics such as physical, personality, and mental are associated with leadership success. Trait theories relies on research that related various traits to the success of a leader. A lengthy list of traits has been made to describe an effective leader in terms of certain characteristics. A broad classification of 6 categories of trait are given below. Physical characteristics of the leader, such as age, height, weight. Second, background characteristics, education, social status, mobility, and experience. Third is intelligence, ability, judgment, knowledge. And fourth is personality, aggressiveness, alertness, dominance, decisiveness, enthusiasm, extroversion, intent, independence, self confidence, authoritarianism. Fifth, task oriented characteristics, achievement, needs, responsibility, initiative, and persistence. Sixth, social characteristics, supervisory, ability, cooperativeness, popularity, prestige, tact, diplomacy. These characteristics, according to some people, are considered valid indicators of successful leaders. But if you compare leaders by various physical, personality, and intelligence traits, you may find very little agreement on these. Some findings point out to the fact that leaders are intelligent individuals, but they do not provide any clue as to whether leaders are brighter than their followers are or are as closer to them in intelligence. Again, some of the personality traits are overlapping with each other, therefore, you need to be cautious in starting personality or any other characteristics or as a cause of successful leadership. You must ask the questions: who is a successful leader? Is he far superior physically? Is he far brighter? Is he more mature as a person? Is he more motivated to achieve the goals? Does he have more consideration for his followers, etc.? Some of the traits may describe the successful leaders, but predicting successful leaders on the basis of traits alone is not a correct approach. The followers have the significant effect on the job accomplished by the leader. Trait theories completely ignore the followers and the situations that also lead help our leaders to be successful. Secondly, we should also wait in our own mind which of the objective, confident, or independent or intelligent is relatively more important in becoming a successful leader. You may observe one or all of the above traits as important in successful leader, whereas your friends may feel that an enthusiastic, aggressive, and authoritarian person is a good leader. To be more objective, traits of the persons as well as demand of the situations together determine the effectiveness of the leader. Group and exchange theories of leadership. This theories is reported by Hollander and Julian 1969 state that the leader provides more benefits on regards than burden or costs for followers who help him achieve the goals of the organization's degree. There must be a positive exchange between the leaders and followers in order for group goals to be accomplished. The leader can give rewards to his followers in the form of praise or pay increase or promotions for accomplishment of the group goal or task. In this has positive impact on attitudes, satisfaction and performance of the followers. In return, they respect the leaders and give due regard for his status and esteem the belief in his heightened influence. As you are already aware that the leader emphasizes initiating structure, then when followers do not perform very well, he increases his emphasis on consideration. When the followers do a good job in return, the perception of his followers of his being an effective leader increases. Hence, the leaders and the followers mutually affect each others. Social learning theories. This theory by Bandura 1977 states that there is a continuous reciprocal interaction between person, environment and behavior. Person and environment function in conjunction with the behavior itself and reciprocally interact to determine behavior. A person, through his actions, produces the environmental conditions and affect his behavior in a reciprocal fashion. The experience generated by behavior also partly determines what a person becomes and can do. This is turn affect his subordinate subsequent behavior. The theory is called social learning theory because individuals learn in an environmental in the process of interacting with each other, which is the social process. You will appreciate the application of this theory is understanding the behavior of the leader and the continuous reciprocal interactions between the person, leaders, cognitions, and environmental, including subordinates and their needs, experiences, objectives in the organization's abilities, skills, energy, performance, etc., known as contingencies that regulates their behavior. Thus, the social learning approaches in leadership can be shown in the next figure. The three aspects of this theory of leadership assume that the leader show known how to his behavior in is controlled by various needs, situations, and experiences that he undergoes. The leaders work with the subordinates to discover what those needs, situations, and experience. The leaders and the subordinates jointly attempt to discover ways in which they can manage their individual behavior to produce mutually satisfying as well as organizationally productive outcomes. In this approaches, the leaders and the subordinates have the negotiable and interactive relationship. They are continuously aware of how they can modify or influence each other's behavior by giving the rewards or holding back the performance respectively. Ministerial grid theory. Leaders can be oriented towards both task and person. This theory by Blake and Mountain 1978 has a popular applications of both task and person's orientation. According to this theory, leaders are most effective when they achieve a high and balanced concern for people and the task. For the task, Each leaders can be rated somewhere along each of axes from 1 to 9 depending upon his orientation. Although there can be 81 possible combinations, you should try to understand the 5 types of that are shown in the diagram. This will give you a basic understanding of the theory on which you can base on your other combination. First, the 9-1 leader is primarily concerned about the task or production. He is concerned with his responsibility to see that the work is completed. He is called a task management leader. Second, the 1-9 leaders is primarily concerned for the people and only incidentally concerned with production. The leader's major responsibility is to establish harmonious relationship among subordinates and to provide a secure and pleasant work atmosphere. He is called a country club manager leader. Third is 1-1 leader is concerned with neither production nor people. He tries to stay out of the way and not become involved in the conflict between the necessity of production and the attainment of good working relationship. He is called a impoverished management leader. Fourth is 5-5 leader. They reflect a middle ground position and is called a middle of the road management leader. He seeks to compromise between high production and employee satisfaction. Fifth is 9-9 leader. They are extremely concerned about the task and also the people. He is concerned to see that the work accomplishment is from committed people, inter- interdependence through a common stake in organization. Purpose leads to relationship of trust and respect. He is called a team management leader. Contingency theory of leadership. Regarding this theory, Fiedler 1967 stated that leader may become effective if the situation is favorable in 3 ways. These are good leaders members relations showing acceptance of the leader by the group, details of the task spelled out of the leader's position, and a great deal of authority and power is normally attributed to the leader's position. With these 3 favorable situations and his style of functioning, a leader will be effective. When the situation is very favorable or very unfavorable to the leader, the task oriented leader is effective. When the situation is moderately favorable to the leader, the person oriented leader is effective. Example of moderately favorable situations to person oriented leader. A leader with good interpersonal relationships may be developing a new policies that will have great impact on the work group. The situation is relatively vague but moderately favorable. The task is not very well defined and the leader members relation is good. The leader is likely to be effective as the would like to consult the members and consider their thoughts and ideas. When the new policies gets approved, the situation becomes more favorable to him. Path goal leadership theory. This theory by House 1971 stated the leader smooth out the path towards goals and provides rewards for achieving them. As a leader, you should understand the needs of the people and their desire to work or behave in a way that accomplishes goals that satisfy those needs. This theory is based on the situations of the above kinds. If you know the needs of the person and his desire to work and he is able to accomplish the work, you can reward him to make him feel happily and satisfied. In essence, you are doing three things. One, you are motivating the members of the group by clarifying the path to person rewards that result from attaining work goals. You have thus fixed him on the job and made him see that his performance can lead to positive or negative rewards. 2. You have already made the path goal clear to the members and also both told him about what the job requires. You need not say too many things about the job to him as this may decrease his interest in the work and deter his performance. These three three you must offer the rewards to the members of the group who actually accomplishes the task. Your reward may be the praise or increase in the pay or promotion of the members to the higher position. Your judgment about the desirability of the members to a higher position is crucial. Your judgment about the desirability of the member's effort and the goal helps you to decide whether a reward can be given. It is very important for the leaders who know every member as a person in order to use a style to get the best out of the member. For example, a task oriented leader is preferably by a highly achievement oriented member, whereas a person oriented leader is preferred by the person who needs a good deal of affiliation with others. Similarly, it does good for the leaders to know each situation to adjust his style of functioning for better result. With a clear task on hand, members feel satisfied if the leader is supporting them. They may not show a lot of output, but they are satisfied. On the other hand, with the less clear or more vacuum task on hand, member shows more output if the leaders directed them to work better. The members in this situation may not be very satisfied. In the most of the Indian work settings, it is usually observed that members are quite dependent on the leaders or the superiors. They also are quite conscious of their status but have very little commitment to work. Singh 1980 suggested that the leader who is task oriented and nurtures the dependence of members on him is most effective in dealing with such members. He or she can get the work done in his nurturant task style from the members of his group. To a great extent, he knows characteristics of the members' work group that he or she utilizes in making the leadership style effective and getting the work done. From the above discussion, it is clear that a leader is a person who has ability to pursue others to get the work done. You must have seen a person having the title of a leader. He may be very popular but may not have the ability of leadership. Many leaders try to become popular by agreeing with everyone, thus avoiding any kind of conflict. Their influence on the subordinates or members of the work group may not be very lasting. There are leaders who, by virtue of their ability to exercise authority and power, shows better influence on members. It is therefore necessary for you to understand the authority of a leader and his source of power, which helped him to exercise influence on the subordinates. Leadership and influence process. Authority is the right to command and exact obedience from others. It comes from organization and it follows the leaders to use powers. Powers is the ability to exercise influence or control over others. In the functioning of a leader, the ability to guide the actions of others is achieved through his authority. Carrying out these decisions is accomplished because of the power of the leader. You will see the relationship between the authority and power of a leader as we go further to understand various types of power. Types of power in leadership. Legitimate power. This power comes through to the leader when the organization's authority is accepted. It comes from the rules of the organizations. For example, parents, teachers, mana, errors, heirs, police, etc. have legitimate power only when their authority is accepted in the positions they hold. Expert power. This is the power of knowledge and skills of special kind of that the important is getting the job done. A person's professional competence or knowledge give him the expert power. His credibility increases. He can lead other persons to trust his judgment and decisions. As an expert like a physicist or a lawyer or a chemical chemist or a computer programs or a purchasing agent or a financial analyst, a leader himself may not be an expert in all field, but he can certainly take the help of expert in particular field. Charismatic Charismatic power. This is the power of attraction or devotion, the desire of one person to admire another. A subordinate feels a positive attraction towards a leader by identifying himself with the leader or get influenced by the leader's attractive power. This power helps the subordinates to understand and value the leader so that he understand and act according to the expectation of the boss or the leader. It helps him to act as his own boss and behaves in a way he thinks the boss will want. Reward power. This power is the present or potential ability to reward the worthy behavior. The superiors or the leaders has the power to give tangible rewards such as promotions, office space, times off from work, attractive work, assignment and help to the subordinate. Also, psychological rewards like praise, appreciation, approvals, and recognition can be given by the leaders or the superior to the subordinates. The subordinates has to believe that he has access to higher authorities. Therefore, he can give rewards. This rewards power of the leaders can also increase the leaders' charismatic and legitimate power. Coercive power. This is the ability of threaten or punish. The leader can give tangible punishment like a dismissal, demotion, low ratings, less satisfying work assignment, etc. Psychological punishment includes criticism, avoidance, disapproval, satirical remarks on the subordinates. The reward power helps to avoid something undesirable. Self-esteem of the subordinates increase because of reward power and decreases because of punishment or coercive power. Even a subordinate may withdraw or break the rules or becomes hostile. He may not feel attracted towards the characteristics power of the leaders, and that time may ignore the leaders legitimate powers. Having seen the reason for effective between the authorities and power of the leader, you should know the types of leaders as understood on the basis of their authority and power. Types of leader and power concept. Formal leader. The A formal leader is selected by the organization. For example, a manager is a formal leader by virtue of the authority coming from the organization. He influences others to help accomplish the goals of the organization or unit. Such a leadership lasts over a long period of time. Informal leader. An informal leader is chosen by the group. Thus, all managers are leaders if their authority is accepted, but not all leaders are managers. Informal leadership is a leadership without position and may shift from one person to another. It may last for a brief time. Most people are leader at one time or the other, and they can have influence on other as defined by the concept of leadership itself. The ideal leader is the one who can combine the formal and informal leadership simultaneously within himself. Successful versus effective leader. As we have seen in the preceding discussion, leadership is the activity of influencing people to strive willingly for group objectives. It is the ability to persuade others to get something done. So, the leaders attempt to have some effect on the behavior of another, which can call attempt leadership. The response to this attempt may or may not be successful. A basic responsibility of the manager in any work organization is to get the work done with and through people. The success of managers is measured by the output or productivity of the group they lead. Therefore, we should clearly distinguish between successful versus effective leader. In the above figure, A is attempt to his style of leadership may not be compatible with B's expectation, and B is made hostile towards A and not job does the job only because of A's position power. Then we can say A has been successful but not effective. B does the job because A can punish him or not doing it, so reward him for doing it. B's own need are not being accomplished by satisfied the goals of A's leader of the organization. On the other hand, A's attempt leadership leads to the successful response, and B does the job because he wants to do it and the find it rewarding. Then we may say A does both position power and as well as personal power. B respects A. B is consistent with some personal goals, and B sees personal goals as being accomplished by the job as does for A. We can then say A's leadership is effective. We should try to understand the difference between success and effectiveness. Success has to do with how the individual or the group behaves. Effectiveness describes the internal state or predisposition of the individual or a group, and is thus attitudinal in nature. You may have noticed that individuals who are interested in success tend to emphasize their position power. They use close supervision to the work of their associated. If they have to be effective, they have to use their personal power as well as their general supervision. Example of successful lead and effective individuals can be noticed if one understands the underlying acceptance of the superior by subordinates. In the examination hall, a certain kind of teacher fear that if they leave the hall for a while, the student will indulge in copying and examining notes. There are yet another kind of teachers who leave the examination hall but the students never behave differently. Let us work at family level, which is a less formal organization. Parents can be successful and effective by using their position and personal power. The children easily assert the goals of the family as their own. Parents who use position power and a closer supervision are likely to face a kind of revolt or disobeying attitude among their children, not accepting the goals set by the parents for the family. With the absence of the parents, the whole house becomes topsy turvy. This can never happen in a family where parents create a good deal for the trust between them and the children by exercising their personal power of love and discipline. The children, in the absence of parents, do not behave differently than if their parents were there. Leaders are successful but effective when they have a short run influence over the behavior of others. They must try to be both successful and effective to have long term influence for leading others towards productivity and developing the organization as a whole. The most important conclusion from the above discussion is that the manager must understand their own abilities and their impact on others. Summary of leadership styles and influence process. In this unit, you have been exposed to leadership as a process of influence on others to work willingly for group objectives. You have also come across different leadership styles such as human relation style, theory X and Y style, authoritarian, democratic, and laissez faire style, employee orientation and productions orientation style, consideration and initiating structure style, and scientific managerial styles. Styles have been related to various theories of leadership, such as trait theory, group and exchange theory, social learning theory, ministerial grid theory, contingency theory, and path goal theory. In the context of leadership and influence process, a distinction was drawn between authority and power. Five types of power, such as legitimate power, reward power, expert power, charismatic power, and coercive power, were explained. Based on the types of power, we discussed two types of leaders, formal and informal. We also attempt to distinguish between a successful and a effective leaders.